Hello there. Hey, and welcome. If we haven't met, my name is Julie Hirschberg. I am a neurologic physical therapist and the owner and founder of Reactive Therapy and Wellness here in the Los Angeles area. And always just so thankful that you'll join me live or watch these videos wherever you do. Thank you. Thank you for your interest and your curiosity with all of the things that I am so curious about. So today I want to talk about one of those, particularly because tomorrow I'm doing a one-day course at our annual physical therapy conference on functional neurologic disorders. And as I've been looking through the slides and getting ready, this one just really stands out. I love this diagram. So let me just share it with you here. I'll come back and forth through a few of these. I love this diagram. It's from an article by Mark Hallett and colleagues. Actually, I have the title of the article. I'll pull it up here just so you can see that. The name of the article here, Functional Neurologic Disorder and New Subtypes and Shared Mechanisms. This came out last year. I've talked about it before, but this description, the understanding of multiple sources of information, particularly fMRI, studies looking at different areas of the brain that are involved in functional neurologic disorders. This figure, this diagram in here really helps summarize what might be happening in the brain. And it's certainly something that I see. And by the way, if you notice, Harry Potter is also in this title because there's a really great example of the predictive brain in Harry Potter. So we're going to get to that in a minute. My daughter and I were watching The Half-Blood Prince just the other day, just this past weekend, actually. And I was like, oh my gosh, stop the movie. This is the predictive brain. And so she had to I'm so annoying. I'm such an annoying mom. She had to hear me talk all about the predictive brain. But it's such a great example. So let's go into what is the predictive brain, and let's look at it in this this context. And by the way, if you're on our newsletter, I'll send out a link to the article, but again, it's called Functional Neurologic Disorder, New Subtypes and Shared Mechanisms. Mark Hallett is the first author. John Stone, the last author. It's a great group of people who put this together. But this is the piece that I really love. So I know it's kind of small. I have to kind of get up here to even see it with you all. In fact, I'm going to get a little bit closer here. So this, well, it's not really a basic diagram. I was going to say this basic diagram, not really a basic diagram. It's actually a pretty complex diagram but it simplifies a little bit, what it is to have, control of our movement. And what happens in functional neurologic disorders, particularly motor disorders, is we lose a sense of voluntary control over the movements. Things might be moving involuntarily, like a tremor or dystonia, or things might not move at all when we command them to, like in a paralysis. So we see both of those. And what this particular diagram does is go through kind of some of the normal processing that occurs and where it can go awry, particularly based on what we know in functional MRI imaging in people with FND. So let me walk through it step by step here. And I'm going to have to pull it up here because it's so tiny on the screen. At the top, you can see intention. So we have an intention to move. And what we know about the predictive brain is this often precedes our conscious thought. So we have intention to move. We have planning of the movement that occurs. This is in our supplementary motor area, SMA for short. Then we have that actual movement generation. So again, this is really simplified. It's not actually quite this simple, but stick with me here. So we've got intention to move, we've got movement planning, we've got movement generation, and then ta-da, at the end, the movement occurs. So this is influenced by several things. So let's go through the loop. As the movement occurs, we get a feedback signal. Did we do it correctly? We get a lot of sensory feedback from our body. In many ways, and this is multimodal. And so you can see on the right there, it says multimodal integration. And there's two big pieces that give us a lot of feedback. Exteroception, so our sensory experiences, and interoceptions, or some of those internal sensations. I'm going to jump in here very soon about where F&D can be influenced, but let me get to the rest of the diagram here. So we kind of have this movement cascade. We have feedback signals. Then those feedback signals can give prediction errors and feedback like, okay, that movement did not occur quite right. Let's change it. There also, if you go to the top, you can actually see that there are predictive codings. And this is what I think is so important. Predictive codings and feed forward signals that the brain actually predicts what's going to occur faster than all of these steps, the intention, movement, planning, generation, and so on, because the brain is frankly very efficient. So this is how it's become very efficient. And here is where it gets really interesting in F&D. So you can see at several levels of this diagram, there's different areas where they have found differences in people with F&D. One of those is it appears to be, and this comes out in testing in the research, that the brain in a person with F&D may have very quick predictive coding, may rely on feed-forward signals more than other processes, and therefore has a very strong prediction. This is where Harry Potter comes in, so hold on to that thought. Very strong prediction. There's other parts that we have seen in the literature as well that might be implicated and influence this cascade. So you see these along the right. Emotion. So there has been some studies to find hyperactivity in the amygdala and the limbic motor system. Attention. So that's, I'm pointing to it as if you can see that. I wish I had a highlighter as I was talking to you on this. Excuse me. So the attention may actually change the movement generation. And we can see this in abnormal connectivity in the supplementary motor area, hypoactivity in the basal ganglia occurring. We can also see on the right hand side, and this is where I think well, as therapists, we can intervene at all places, but I think on the right-hand side, especially if somebody has impaired interoception or changes in their sensory experience, like after an injury, like after nerve damage, or anything like that, they actually will have some abnormal multimodal integration there. And then you can see below, what is commonly found is an abnormal sense of agency, and that's integrated in the right temporal parietal junction. Abnormal activity in that area of the brain has been associated with F&D. So we have multiple areas that might be implicated in F&D through this whole process, and this whole process then has kind of made it so that the movement is not under our control, and that sense of agency over the movement has really decreased. So I want to highlight what really stuck out to me about this idea of the prediction, the predictive coding, and really emphasizing feed-forward signals. Now, I want to say this is not a conscious decision from the person with F&D that they're going, well, I'm going to rely on my feed-forward signals. Nope, that is not it. It actually appears to be that this is part of the programming in the brain is to rely on feed forward signals more than some of the feedback. Now, here's the good news. again, this is what we do in therapy. Let's restore some of those feedback loops so that let's change the predictive coding. So now let's go to Harry Potter, Half-Blood Prince. This is what we were watching the other day, just this past weekend. So if you recall, in the Half-Blood Prince, I'm going to pull up like a picture here. Harry is doing the tryouts for the Quidditch team. And Ron, so if you're not familiar with Harry Potter, I think you might be, but Harry Potter on the left, Ron on the right. There's Luna, my favorite, in the lion's mane. Actually, this isn't the tryout. This is after the tryout. Ron has so much anxiety over playing. He's pretty sure he's going to do terrible. He looks like he's going to pass out, like all of the blood drained from his face. He looks terrible. Well, Harry has recently just won a potion, the Felix Felicis potion, that allows a person to, when they take it, have enormously good luck. So Harry, being very smart, actually pretends, well, Ron doesn't know, but he pretends to put the potion in Ron's drink. Ron has the drink, and then this is the face that he has after that. So he goes from looking really seriously ill to being ecstatic. He's confident. He's so sure of himself. And guess what? He actually goes in and literally plays the most amazing game of Quidditch ever. And he's oh my gosh, I'm going to get it wrong, but he's like the goalkeeper, right? So he makes these great saves with his head and so on. It's phenomenal. He has not taken any potions. Nobody put any spells on anybody else. That actually happened in the tryout, by the way. Hermione did a little spell on his major opponent. Nobody did that. But if we go back to that brain model, let's talk about what happened here for Ron. Because, well, first, did he have all of these capabilities? He did. He had them. They would have been pretty locked up if he continued to believe and think and actually have all of the visceral responses of being ill. He would have not been able to do all of these things, but he had these capabilities. They're automatic for him. So let's go back and put this in the predictive brain model here. So here's our predictive brain model. Again, remember that predictive coding, that feed forward signal. So this is what Harry Potter's action actually changed for Ron, which then changed the loop for him. So he really used a little bit of psychology of belief. So for Ron, the roadblock in his loop here was his belief. And that was really ramped up by anxiety. He was terrified. He was sure he was going to do terrible. And he probably would have done pretty terrible. So for him, it was a belief. This is not the issue for everybody, right? I'm not saying, by the way, that functional neurologic disorders are a belief problem in yourself. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. I want to use this example of the predictive brain, though. When that changed, so in Ron's case, it's like he took a placebo. He took a placebo potion and believed he was capable of doing anything and performed that. And I believe that is because with that belief, he changed the predictive coding, he changed the feed forward signal so that everything that ensued matched that prediction. It was a literal brain trick that Harry Potter did. Now, when it comes to FND, I don't think it's brain tricks. I don't think it's placebos, although placebos can be very powerful. I don't think we need potions. I don't think we need to trick anybody to believe in themselves. That's not what I'm saying at all. I actually think it's way more complex than that. But we can consider that the predictive power of the brain is part of this equation, right? We actually see in this diagram from Merkellet that functional neurologic disorders effects at each level